We hear a lot of statistics when it comes to juvenile justice. Numbers, charts, percentages. But what if we used all that data to do something more? What if we used it to understand the actual human stories behind the numbers? Well, that's exactly what we're going to dive into. This quote, it just cuts right to the heart of it, doesn't it? Let's talk about Marcus. He's 16 and he's in trouble again. To the system on paper, he could easily look like just another case file, just another statistic. But in reality, he was a kid at a crossroads. So meet Marcus. He was picked up for breaking into a convenience store. Now, he'd been in trouble before, yeah, but this time felt different. The officers who were there, they saw it. This wasn't some kid looking for a thrill. You could see this desperation in his eyes, this pressure that pointed to a much bigger, much deeper story. This was a smart kid, a capable kid, who was just completely lost. And that's the big question, right? When you're looking at a file, a history, a pattern of behavior, how do you push past all that and see the actual person? This is the core challenge in juvenile justice. And if you're going to tackle it, you need the right tools. So what's in this toolkit? Okay, think of a juvenile justice professional like a doctor. A good doctor isn't just going to look at one symptom and write a prescription. No, they use a whole range of tools, x-rays, blood tests, you name it, to see the whole picture. For a kid like Marcus, those tools are different kinds of data. All right, first up, you've got the Uniform Crime Reports, or UCR. This is kind of like the official record. It tells us the what. Marcus was arrested for breaking and entering, plain and simple. But it leaves out the most crucial piece of the puzzle, the why. Then you have Juvenile Court Statistics. This data basically maps out a young person's journey through the system, from their very first referral all the way to the final outcome. For Marcus, this would be the official paper trail of his entire history with the courts. Now, this is where it gets really interesting. Self-report and victimization surveys. Because they're anonymous, they can uncover what researchers call the dark figure of crime. We're talking about all the incidents and actions that never, ever get reported to the police, but are a huge part of a person's story. Think of it like an iceberg. That official data, the arrests, that's just the tip you can see sticking out of the water. But the survey data, that helps us see the massive part of the iceberg hidden underneath. And if you only look at that tip, you are missing most of the story. You could make a dangerously wrong call on a kid like Marcus. But here's the thing. Data doesn't just appear out of nowhere. It's shaped by this whole complex web of factors in a young person's life. So to really understand what the numbers are telling us, we have to understand those influences too. I'm talking about things like race, gender, who their friends are, their family's economic situation. All of it plays a role. These factors don't just influence a young person's choices. Oh no, just as important, they can also influence how the system sees them and reacts to those choices. You could have two kids do the exact same thing, and they might be treated completely differently by the authorities, all because of their background. And this brings us to a really critical point. The data shows, time and again, that getting into trouble early can be a red flag for more serious patterns down the road. That's why looking at Marcus's full history wasn't about punishing him for his past. It was about understanding his path, his trajectory, and figuring out how to change it before it was too late. So back to Marcus. How did his story end? This is where we get to see the real power of using that full data toolkit. Not just to pass judgment, but to truly understand and then to act. The team working with Marcus put all this into practice. They pieced together all the data, the official records, the context, everything. And that allowed them to shift from asking, what did he do, to the much, much more important question, okay, why is he doing this? And that answer led them to a solution that wasn't about punishment at all. It was about support, a mentorship and day program. And the result? Well, it was simple, but absolutely profound. With the right kind of support, Marcus never came back through their doors again. A decision that was informed by data didn't just close a case file, it opened up an entirely new future for him. And that really leaves us with this final thought. Marcus isn't just one kid, one success story. He's a powerful example of what can happen when we choose a different approach. It really makes you wonder, doesn't it? How many other stories out there are just waiting to be changed? If only we use the data to see the person and start asking the right questions.